Peace, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear us. Shabbat shalom. How y'all doing?
Shabbat
How you doing,
shalom,
Abaru?
everyone.
All right, ready to go. Give thanks to the Most High. It looks like the ice crunching monster is in full effect, so we're gonna be taking turns muting out. But yeah, man, give thanks to the Most High for getting us, for strengthening to move to the end of another strong and get accomplished what we need to get accomplished, and hopefully everybody was able to accomplish what they needed to get done. You know, peace to everyone in the chat. Peace, Chief Yuya. Peace, Safta Naya and Safta Hawa. Hopefully you're all doing well. Yeah, we just coming in. We just building tonight, right? I mean, we just talking about timing. Like divine timing, and how sometimes we can get knocked out of whack a little bit, or a lot, depending on how we move through life. Some of the challenges we may have. Sometimes we just lose perspective, and we can lose perspective on how long certain things should take. Sometimes we want it to take less time than it should, and sometimes we don't realize that something should have already been done, and we're kind of beating around the bush, and we're not putting our best effort forward for a variety of reasons. Sometimes we're ill prepared. Sometimes we like to claim that we're ill prepared, but we're really just scared to move to the next level. So we're going to be touching on concepts around time and timing and things like that. But I'll mute out and let Abba Haruk come through. Because even speaking with time with our strong in review, we had a good build session first date. First of all, last strong, the sisters touched on a real interesting topic. Sister Maria and Sister Safta Hava building on our wardrobe, right? Our earthly wardrobe. And then Sister Yafe came through with, we were talking about not compromising, coming off of the movie that we had watched last Shabbat, Captain Fantastic, which was a good movie. I really like the movie, especially the first part, the beginning part of it. And then we have Chief Yuya coming through with Proverbs 31, part 2, Chief Yuya podcast, Aki El Kara bringing the law, love of Allah's wisdom. And now here we are again talking about, time and divine timing. So, peace. Ross Kush, peace, Amy Sequoia, peace, Sister Margie Marie Art. I think that's everyone. Peace, Ross Kush. I think I say Mafuya. But yeah, I'm a mute out and let our root come through.
Yeah, we're this was very interesting as we were building off of what time is it? Because oftentimes we no pun intended, oftentimes we don't always, I think about Chief when I remember a couple of years ago, and he was basically, a lot of us, and I knew he was prepared. We had to be prepared for the pandemic. And of course, the first thing we were talking about was the bug out bag and storing enough food and everything. And so we were getting prepared, time, right? And so some of us have like, okay, we made it through that or so. I said, oh yeah, but that was that moment. That was that season. That was that period, as Master Malik will build on, was at that moment. We're not done yet. Okay, are we able to pay attention to the seasons? Like, my favorite season is summer, actually spring, and then from spring going to summer. And why is that? Because one, I love it when I always look forward to when I watch the trees. And the trees, when they get ready to bud, I'm like, oh yeah, spring is coming. Yeah, because the buds are coming through the trees, and then the tulips are sprouting out, and then, but more importantly, I look at the trees. And so the excitement of spring, and then we go into the, you know, the damp, because spring is usually damp. I mean, for me, it's in Chicago, so it's damp and rainy, and it all depends, because in Chicago it's like really two seasons, hot and cold. I love the hot part. I know everybody like they don't like. I like the hot part. But the point is, in the seasons, we look at life, we take it for granted. And then what me and Master Malik was saying is that, you know, there's a personal level of season, seasons that we all go through. Some of us, you know, like I said, with Chief was like, being in our new, we are being prepared for not only as a collective body, as a community, but then as we have individual moments. So we're going to build on that tonight. We're going to build on that. And so I just wanted to, me and Master Mendel, we put a lot of time in this. Time. But, you know, it's funny when you having a moment in this. And you know what, talking about seasons, I actually forgot. I asked Master Mendel, I said, this was just the other day. I said, Master Mendel, when did we start doing fellowship together? And he said, Abba, we've been starting since January. I'm like, huh? I'm like, really? I doubted him, because it didn't seem it. Look what happened. I actually was like, April, you know, thank God we weren't on Jeopardy, because we were on Jeopardy, I would have lost. Abba Root would have lost. Master Mendel would have won. I'm like, I would have to go over his side or so. I'm like, Master Mendel, you know. But the point is, look at the seasons. Look at how things go by so fast. And then the question is keeping up with the times. You know, Chief, as he prepares us with the segments and everything, and everything, no compromise, which was done a couple days ago, a couple strongs ago. Nothing is done by accident. Everything, there's a purpose. You know, last week, you know, as the womb was building with Sapta Ahava and Akoti Maria, when they're building on the wardrobe, that is like, you think it's just, yeah, when you're putting on your body and how you're covering yourself or how you preparing yourself, but also there's seasons. So, but anyhow, I just wanted to chap in. Now I'll mute out. Master Mendel, go ahead and chime in. You know, we're blending. Come on in.
Okay, give thanks. But yeah, you were surprised. And by the way, I don't know if we can make a game out of this. We need a score, because Abba Haruk has been making time puns for the last strong, and I had to put up with it. So we need like a time pun counter for this session. But yeah, definitely that's a good point that you made in terms of, you know, the time flew by, because at a certain point it was like, oh boy, we got to go live. I don't know how this is gonna go. It's like, but now it's like, all right, we're going live. What we talking about? You know, so you can see the level of growth and improvement, even the level of comfort that you have with going live, because you're less concerned about and I went through this too. Like it's less of a concern about how you look or how you'll perform, and it's more about will everyone get what they need, you know. Maybe he does, you know, or we could get him another grandfather clock, you know, and have the metronome go, because the metronome is going. You know, I just realized it when we started. It's like, oh yeah, the grandfather clock. That's a nice touch. You know, yeah, man, we could get a favorite flavor clock.
Grandfather time, actually, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, grandfather time. We're gonna talk about that.
Okay, I thought that was your MC name. MC grandfather time. But yeah, man. But as time goes on, we were also talking about different concepts surrounding time and different sayings that people have surrounding time. Like you would have, I remember in Chief's breakdown of Genesis, you have. I don't know if I can get through this. So that sounds like the Riddler's layup. But when Chief Yuya was building on Genesis, we're talking about the evening and the morning being the first day, right? And when we're talking about days, Chief was breaking down it's not just like 24 hours, but a day or yom. In Hebrew, yom would be a period of time, or it could even speak to an era, and Chief had given the example, like back in my day, we used to do this or we used to do that. And we all have different periods or different eras in our life that we go through, or different seasons, right? Of our lives that we go through. And like you can recall a season where, like, if you were that person back then, you may not have imagined that you'd be doing what you're doing right now. And it shows like a point A to point B sort of line. And oh, peace, Sister Yafet. Yeah, it goes from a point A to point B, but you can plot those points along that line and be like, okay, this is where I changed direction a little bit. I got dumped. I got pushed down at the playground when I was young. Little Susie kicked me between the legs, and I never trusted women after that. You just go down the line, right? I got my first job. I got my first sexual experience. Got married, had children. And you could just plot these points along your life, and you may realize that your life may or may not have lined up with the clock or the metronome or the timing that you were told you were supposed to align yourself to. So, for example, now, when you're young, you're told you go to school, get good grades, you graduate, you go to prom, you graduate, you go to college, you get a good job, you get married, you have 2.5 kids and a dog, you buy a house with a white picket fence, and you save for retirement, right? That's the timeline that we're supposed to be on. And like we all have in our minds, like partially through programming and music and movies, but also through the other people who are trying to align themselves with that clock or that timing, that, okay, I'm 20 years old, so I should have this, or I'm 30 years old, I should have this, and when you do that, you're already aligning yourself to a foreign culture that may not be in your best interest, because you're aligning yourself to their agenda. It's not your agenda or the agenda that you came to the planet with. You're aligning with an external clock as opposed to your internal clock. I will get into that a little bit more. You wanted to chime in, Awaru?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like, when we came in to Anu, and I remember when we were meeting as a community, the men and women, and Chief would chime in and will share certain things about, like you just said, timing. Also, then when we were separated, we were able to, one, it gave the women to have a space for them to talk about things that they didn't feel like, in case they felt more comfortable to sharing with us, and the same thing for the men. But I remember one of the things that Chief was breaking down was, we were talking about, he was talking about timing about different age for men. And one of the things I recall was that, he was saying, really, you're again, about maturity. The level of maturity is going to be different from different age. And then again, we're talking about, in this culture in the West, it's totally different than it is in certain parts of the country. But anyhow, what really hit home with me, what you were sharing, is from like 30 you still haven't figured it out, and I can, going back to time, I can look back at that. And then when you get to 40, you're almost there, but it's like tapping in it. And then by the time you reach 50, or above, that's when things really hit home. Why? Because one, you have the personal experience. And when she was breaking it down, I'm like, dang, I'm sitting here like, and I think of some of my younger brothers, and I knew that, a lot of them in their late 20s, 30s or so. And you would, again, in this society, which going back to what you're saying, we don't support that part of the society. But 30, you're supposed to have married, and you have this many children, and you have that picket fence, and you're in the suburbs, and you got the 2 cars and it's like, so that's pretty much pinned in your head. And then when you realize that that's not necessarily the case, or should be the case, because today, going back to timing, look at how much most of us, we were geared towards a timing that was against our the divine timing. And so what Chief was breaking, when he broke that down, is that once you regulate your life, and as you hone in on that particular timing of your life, or with the Most High, basically, then it's like, okay, getting more in tune, staying in season, because during those times you're gonna have, like especially when, for those of us who came into our new, our seasons were off. Some of us, we had the winter time was in the summertime, or fall time, and the springtime was in the different time, in one different time. And then the women might have thought they were men, and then we have the men that were thinking they were the women, and it's like seasons are off. So now it's like, which is like that in the world. People have different cultures, but then when you pinpoint and you understand the period, or as you were sharing, we'll go in further about the era. When we go back to different seasons, and are you on point with the Most High, then it makes more sense. You're not losing your mind. You're understanding, you're on pace. Okay. It's interesting that you hear in the background that ticking, that it's a clock. It's a clock. But that clock not only reminds me of time, but it also reminds me of, it's like a pulse. And so that's one of the things. Now, some people that drive them crazy. But it's just like my little way that I like. I enjoy it. But my point is, I want to go back to what we were sharing, is that being in the right season, and then measuring that. So I just wanted to just share that, and I know we'll go further. Master Miller, you want to chime in?
Sure. Just getting into definitions now, and I know there's probably deeper definitions. Anytime we give a definition, Chief takes it another level, deeper, and it's always like, how do you know this? Like, anytime Chief talks, it's like, why do you know that? And Chief is like, oh, he just pulls them out of I don't know where, but he's plugged in, and he spent a lot of his time. So see, now you got me with the time puns. He spent a lot of his time studying, right? And but I bring that up because you can tell, even in terms of, I think, was it Safta Hava? So Safta Hava says, that is so true. Time is one of our most precious commodities. If we don't use it wisely, it is wasted. Time waits for no one. Exactly. And you could look at Chief and be like, that brother spends a lot of time studying, listening, and observing. You know what I mean? And you could look at you and be like, okay, this brother spends a lot of time making sure that whatever he says, um, he can stand behind it, and even if he's corrected, he's like, oh, okay, sure. You don't waste time trying to defend a point that is proven wrong. Like, I've noticed that about just like, you know what, you're right. And that's it. Like, we're not gonna waste time arguing, because you don't waste time arguing. Whenever we speak, and it's like, and um, it's not like I'm saying you're a pushover, because when it is something that you're sure of, it's like, no, that's not what it is. This is what it is. You know what I mean? And we deliberate, and then we find the truth, and it's like, okay, cool, let's move on. And it's like maybe 2 or 4 minutes later, it's like I'm not saying you did, but it's almost like you forgot the exchange ever happened, because there's no time to hold on to things that you don't need to hold on to, you know. Some people, you can tell they spend a lot of time lifting weights. This person must spend a lot of time drawing. This person must spend a lot of time running or jumping or studying or debating or arguing or playing video games, or any number of things. This person spends a lot of time drinking. This person, you can see even the word "spend time." You think of it as a commodity, in a sense, or investing time. You think of it as a commodity in that sense. And but the fact that it is something that we all agree is finite in terms of our relation to it. We don't know how infinite time may be, but we know that it's finite. And even the definition, it's described as an indefinite um, duration. This is an indefinite duration, so it's something that's going to last. We don't know how long it's going to last, because we're not going to last along with it. But I speculate that it's going to last longer than any of us. And that's like our conception of time. And if you look into physics, you'll get more precise definitions with a lot of formulas that I'm not going to pretend I remember. But yeah, in terms of definitions, you have a duration of some sort that is not definite. I don't know how definite, or I don't know how long, but I know it's not forever, and it's very difficult to measure. Which makes this topic very. It made it kind of daunting to get into, because it's like, okay, well, what's this time thing? Because if you say time, everyone has an experience of something that felt like it was forever, and everybody has an experience of, I wish that lasted longer. So like, I could relate it to experience, but not like as a concept. But I don't want the chat to get away from us, so I'm just gonna quickly go through it, and then I'll mute, so you could come back in. Shabbat Shalom. So Sister Sovereignite says, right, Master Menelik. Well, in that case, we are not only off in terms of timing, but we are also off when it comes to structure and culture that we should adhere to. Freedom over, oh, you're talking about the white picket fence. Yeah. Sister Margie Marie says, this reminds me of being accountable for your purpose, investing time and cultivating the divinity within you. Right. Yeah, that's true. Chief says, time is our vehicle of branding. It is also our validator for trust. Yeah, what I tell you, I told you, I told you, just give it time. We really need that time fund counter. It's infectious. Sister Sequoia says, I think about the saying, time flies when one is having fun. It's funny you should say that, because we do have a question. Can you recall a moment when you lost track of time? So you could have been doing something, I don't know what it was, and you look up, and it's one of those how long have I been out types of moments. where like I think I was doing something. I don't know what I was doing. I was painting something, and I couldn't see outside, so I was just inside of this room, and the lighting always looks the same. And I was painting it, and I was trying to get something right. And then when I went outside, like it was pitch black, like it was pitch black. So it's like, oh boy, where am I? And I had to reorient myself. I had to look at my watch, check the time, and be like, oh, okay, this is how long I've been in there. But that's one of the moments. There's plenty of moments where I just completely zoned out and lost track of what was happening. But I'll mute out now and let you jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I just said mine. I mean, that's just one. Since we've been doing fellowship, I actually believed we started in April. And Master Miller was like, no, we started in January. I'm like, did we really? Are you kidding me? And for a moment, I didn't believe him until the record. I'm like, oh my God, because we were talking about certain things and like when it started, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I mean, not that I doubt my brother, but when you lose that moment of time, like even this, like the seasons. I look at the season. What's the difference between the season of last year, this time, versus the season now? The only difference I'm thinking is like our retreat. I'm telling you, I ain't say no more. Those who don't ain't coming to retreat. Listen, I'm gonna leave that alone. If you don't go, you're gonna be left out. That's as simple as that. Then you're gonna miss the time spent. But anyhow, that's not what I want to talk about. But meanwhile, the season between last year and what we're getting ready to go into this year. Look at the seasons. Look what has changed. Look what happened a year ago to where we're at, many strongs ago to where we're at right now. Where were you and I at a year ago? What was the struggles that we were facing a year ago versus we're going through right now? Whether, like you said, Emma Sequoia wrote sometimes time, I remember times when time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. Then I also remember times where you go through challenges and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be over. Or then it is over, then you forget. During that transformation moment, that period, because you can't measure it. You can't measure time. When you're going through something, it's in a moment. And then even define that. Define a moment. Define a cycle. Define that. You can't. Okay? Like the moment we spend, there are times when we spend in fellowship, it's like, oh my God, we went 2 hours. I remember one time we were on and Chief chimed in and everybody seemed like they fell asleep, but we were like, okay. And I was like, I ain't tired. Master Miller ain't tired. It went by. I'm like, wow. But it goes back to, like we were saying about Chief, the investment, the quality of what you're putting your time in. Look what the time and the investment Chief puts in, what he does to get where we're at today. Even to the fact that it's funny because me and Master Miller, we didn't really go in depth about this, but when we started in January, we had no idea what the topics were going to. No, we had to choose our own topics and what we're going to talk about. Don't even know what you're going to do. It's like, dang, how do it? But you know what? I watch Aki Zach. I watch, Akoti Maria and Safta Ahava, and then Akoti Yafe and Yakira Eden. I mean, shoot, El Karar. It's like with time, it's like when we're talking on a subject, how do you? We got a great mentor. Chief is way eons. Talk about time, eons beyond us. But He's like, no, y'all can get your eons too. How much do you spend that cultivating that within those moments? Like Master Miller, like this is a moment we spend I don't know what the thought came to eternity. It's not eternity though, but it's quality time we spend. And just to make sure that that is relevant, what we're getting ready to say, what we're going to share, what can we leave you with that is beneficial, something that is relevant to the moments that we go, and we're going to get into all that. We were having fun. This is the first time, and we'll talk about this. Dang it, I know. I'm now matching where I keep, every time I say the word time, we should get rich on this. Many times I don't even know how I'm going to say it, but we've, when we first, I'll give you an example. When we first started out with this moment of time, this is a couple strongs ago, we started on second day, and then it just went out from there, not knowing from the second day that we're going to get to this moment, and we're not done yet. But this is the thing, going back to what Chief invests, the quality time, the quality intimacy, because it's intimate to get this information and preparing these topics, and then also breaking them down, because we have a model, we have examples from our brothers, from Chief, from our sisters, to where we can come together and utilize our own personal experiences in breaking sharing with this. We even had interruption times. Master Melek had it where his we were talking about that. It was like, dang, the internet's going out or something like that. But we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through this. Okay. We're gonna get we always do. So, but this goes back to the work that goes into what we're talking about, preparing for it. And since talk about time, since we started in January, I still can't believe it. Sometimes I'm still looking back and like, dang, that's that is a lot. But you know what? In that quality time from January to where we're at now, and I can't imagine it. Going back to what Master Malik was at. Can you recall a moment when you lost track of time? But you know what? I can tell you what this has allowed me. It's allowed me to really study and enjoy studying. It's like going to school again. Now, I didn't do well in regular school, in their school, but this, to take a topic and then, okay, prepare, this is work, but it's fun. And then I don't like talking about time. I don't like doing stuff live. This is the first time I've ever done it. I didn't even know how it was going to work out. I'm like, bloopers? Are we going to have bloopers while we're doing this stuff? But it didn't matter. The point is giving you and having this discussion about the things that we share in our new. That Chief endlessly, time after time after time, it's like he never loses steam. And not only is it on time, but everything that when he does, especially the command of days, as we're studying for this, when Chief, when he did it a month, every single day, command of days, every single day, and it was like on point. And the way it's like, I still look back. I'm like, and I go back and I'm like, damn, that's command of day number 13. Chief made it so easy, but that was his commitment. That was his love for what he does. But his connection to the Most High, which you have to spend time with. I know Master Menelik, he loves doing the work he does, and this is why I honor him, as well as everyone else in this space, because just the very fact of sharing, I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. Master Menelik, and the mic passes to Master Menelik.
Yeah, I was just thinking of those corny news reporters. Yeah, here's Jim with the weather. you know, but yeah, those are all good points in terms of losing track of time, um, but also like shrugging off um, some insecurities that may keep you sort of stuck. Like it's almost like if you're ever out running or jogging or even walking, like if you're out on foot and up ahead of you, you see a dog and you're far away from this dog, but you can tell it's a dog, but you can't tell what kind of dog you want to run into because the animals have their own personality. You don't know if this is a friendly dog, you're going to run up to you and sniff you and be happy to see you. You don't know if this is one of those dogs who waits until your back is to them to start barking, and you got to keep looking back to see if they're chasing you or not. You don't know what you coming up against. And times two of you if you out jogging or anything, and you might already have a pre-programmed response to it. Like if this dog, if he tries to have a standoff, we standing off. I'll fight a dog. I don't care. Y'all can lock me up. Throw me in jail with the other guy. I don't care. I'll fight a dog. I'm not running from you. I tried that before and it didn't work. He got me. So I'm fighting you. We squaring up. But you may see something coming up ahead of you and you have these preconceived notions of how it may go. But the only way you'll know how it'll go is to go through it. Like Chief would always say, you don't get over something or get past it. You move through it. And once you move through it, then you'll know. But until you get there, you can only assume, and those assumptions or that speculation, it could bring a lot of anxiety, and you could mitigate it a little bit, right? Um, don't walk up the street where there's a dog. That's one of them. But if you're in a case where you see a dog, um, what you do in the moment is something that you can prepare for mentally, but until you're there, like your character isn't that much of a factor. Your adrenaline isn't that much of a factor in your mind. It's like being in the moment, right? And one of the things we were talking about is one of Chief Yuya's music projects, My Drum, and the chorus is just now, right? That's it, now. So just the answer to the question, what time is it? Time is now, and it's always now. You're always in like moment to moment, and you may move from an anxious moment to a more stable one, or vice versa. But you're in moments and you have to respect each moment, and that in itself is like an art form to keep that consistency. Or like Chief was saying, time is our vehicle of branding and our validator for trust, and I remember Chiefs explaining to us that trust is you earn trust based on observable actions over time. Like what are you consistently displaying? And I can brand what this person will do. Like I already know Abba Harut's gonna make a time pun when he unmutes. I already know it. You can see it on his face. I can trust that. Right? But I may be able to trust myself more too. Like, okay, I tried the fear approach to seeing a strange dog, and it didn't work. In terms of trying to outrun a dog, it won't happen. So if it gets to a point where he's that close, I may have to psych him out. A dog sees you just standing out, like you're already taller than him, so he might be less likely to attack, right? But you may also see him like this dog ain't gonna do nothing. Right? That's what's in my mind, because like I said, all dogs ain't the same. But I won't know that until I spend time with that dog. And time could be pleasant or it could be unpleasant, but I have to be willing to trust the moment, or trust that I'm not willing to trust the moment and just leave it alone. you know, I could do either or, but I gotta be willing to at least trust the way I'm going to respond. as opposed to putting myself in a situation where I'll panic, and that becomes my brand of myself. I'm scared of dogs. I hear that a lot. I'm scared of, like, are you gonna be scared of every dog on the planet? You ain't met every dog on the planet. But some people are like, I'm scared of meeting new people, or I'm scared of public speaking. I'm scared of this. And it's like, how much time have you spent doing it? Well, I've never done it. So how can you be scared of something you don't know? You may have a little bit of information about it, but chief is broken out until you've ingested it. It doesn't really become knowledge. It's just you're just curating information. You just got a living room full of books on a bookshelf that you haven't read. That doesn't. So some people may walk in the house and be like, "Ooh, this person must be smart." It's like, nah, they just have a lot of books, and they may not be wise enough to read them. Yeah, man. But I want to get through some of these answers. I see a lot of comments. Hold on, wait a minute. Let's catch up with these. So Saftanaya. Oh, this to you, Mina. Peace, sister. Peace, sister. Ken, just the other day, I lost track of time during a build with a sister. Okay. Yeah, you could lose track. Matter of fact, those retreats, you could lose track of time with them retreat conversations. Like, especially if you inside and you can't see outside, you walk outside, it's just like, it was just noon. How was it midnight? Saftanaya says many times, most recently today, fell asleep in the park. I didn't know I was asleep until I woke up roasted from the sun. Last thing I recall was doing yoga with the sisters. Okay, so at least you with your sisters. You will put the sleep on yourself tonight. Chief Yuya says, I never track time unless I'm working outside my purpose. My moments are based on purpose, which is based in truth. When truth is mastered within my cipher, equally there is no time. Truth I master equality. TIME. Some supreme alphabet for your supreme mathematics. Ras Kush says, answer. I recall a time when writing a poem, I was totally zoned in and didn't want to stop to eat, use the bathroom, or almost anything until it was complete. Yeah, I know those times you gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah. And it feels like if you go to the bathroom and come back, the whatever was helping you out is gonna be gone. Iman Sequoia says, when I volunteered to serve at a baseball game in my youth, I was hooking those people up, giving them extra ketchup and stuff. Completely lost track of time. All right. Ketchup plug. Such a beautiful experience. But I kept thinking of new things to add to it. Oh yeah, I definitely know that feeling with painting and writing. It doesn't leave you alone once you get into that. Once you get into it. Marjorie Marie Art says, answer, I remember talking on the phone with someone for 15 hours straight. I'm completely losing track of time. It's a long time. Exploring thoughts, jokes, concepts, music, etc. I equate that to being fully present. That time wasn't a factor. In fact, it was no thought. The only way we recognized the time was realizing that the sun was out and what was tracked on the phone's timer. Right. Peace, brother Jason. Or Abba Jason. Abba Root was Abba Root brought that up to me yesterday. It's like, why do we call him Aki? And he has more kids than I do. Yeah, Abba Jason. Marjorie also says it was like time became a factor based on concepts of day and night or hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that. Especially if you're you're sharing a very intimate moment with someone who you may not have seen for a while, and like you catching up, and it's like, how you been? Oh, I'm been good. I've been doing this, and that. How you been? Well, I've been good. I've been doing this. And, hey, you seen so and so? And then it starts getting deeper and deeper, and you remember why you were cool in the first place, and then you just start exploring stuff. It's like, I should really go, but I don't want to go. Okay, Sister Yafe says, I lost track of time when I was learning a software program. I was so intent on getting it that I didn't stop and missed doing other tasks and activities. Crosses. Crosses. Imakuya said, I often think about my years between 18 to 21, and I've asked myself, where did the time go or how I spent my time? I didn't use it wisely at all. I just meandered through time. I can relate to that too. I can relate to that. It wasn't at those ages. I would say like maybe 13, 14. I was just playing tons of video games. Like anything with a controller, I was just playing it. And I would just get lost in these other worlds. Sister Maria says, when I am affirming or spiritizing and sharing time and space with those I hold close, the list is extensive. Can I keep going? Feel free. When I offer service, support, and a listening ear, and I'm sure more is going to be coming. Marjorie Marie says, in that moment, the person and I were present and functioning in our purpose in that moment. So time wasn't relevant. True. Yeah, true. In time at, I'm not sure. In time at, were those corrections? So I'm not sure. Sister Maria says, there is a really interesting song I remember, time alone will tell. Teacher said, you could be scared of every shark on the planet. Yeah, you could be scared of them. I've seen people go up to sharks and pet them. Wouldn't advise it. I know there's one woman who made it her mission to remove hooks that were stuck inside of a shark's mouths. Like she would just reach her hand in their mouths and remove it. And the sharks would always recognize her when they see her. And they actually told other sharks, like, hey, there's this lady. Like, she'll hook you up. I know you had that hook in your puns. Puns keep coming. I know you had that hook in your mouth for a while, but you go to this lady, she'll hook you up. Just don't bite her. And I know. Don't eat her. Don't ruin it. Some people just scary. Sometimes they are. Sometimes it's wise to not go near things that are scary. With the Anuman Anuwon video shared today, I think about how we lose track of time around campfires at the retreats, building and laughing and sleeping. Right, Sister Maria shared her favorite moments on this channel, on the Anu Life Global channel. She's talking about her favorite Anu retreat memories. You know what I like? When everyone was around the fire and the youth would, I think Aki Vermont was sharing with the youth like how to cook their fish, and someone who will not be named dropped the fish twice. Yeah, that was my favorite experience because we were all in unison. Everybody was like, oh, then she dropped it again. It's like, oh, yeah, that was funny. Spend some time catching up to the chat. Right. Oh, that was did I do that pun? Oh boy, I can't even keep track no more. I don't know what the fact is. Aki El Kara, you help us out. Yoga time lapse. Okay, I'm really, we getting there. We getting close. We catching up. Jason said, it seems like when I live in my spirit time, I lose track of time and thought in the moment. And when I'm in my ego, trying to control time. Yeah, very true. Like I'd be trying to like squeeze and cram everything into there. Like I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this and that, and I wish I had more hours in the day. Like, come on, bro, more hours in the day just for you, just you. But yeah, I know just how you. I could feel where you're coming from after you, Jason. That actually reminds me when I was younger. Um, I think I started when I was 14. I just did it to see if I could do it. But we have like you have long stretches of beaches. Sometimes you have like a canal breaking them up. A canal is dredged out and it goes out into the sea. So you have like a beach and a canal and then the other beach. And I did it once. I was like, okay, I'll walk from this side of the beach to the next one. And it took me like 2 hours. But then it just out of nowhere it just became a ritual. I would just wake up at 4 a.m. On a Shabbat, and I would just walk to the beach, and then I would walk up to the edge of the canal, and it'd take me like I don't know, it'd take me like 5-6 hours to do it, and then come back. But I would spend time out there too. Like it was a full day. Like it was a ritual out of nowhere. I just did it once, and I said I should be doing this, and I just wake up early and go to the beach. So I'll finish reading these, and then I'll mute out. Aki El Kura says, I lose track of time when I'm walking and exploring as I am. Got the music bumping, and I'm just in the moment observing everything. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, share, subscribe. Dropfish, Dusty Fish, they ate it though. Yeah, I'm sure it tasted good. They seasoned it enough. But I'm gonna mute out. Our root. You can jump in. Try again.
Party people. No, tag team. I was just thinking tag team. It's funny because as I was thinking about what El Karar was saying. Every moment, every dawning. My first part of dawning, for me to appreciate getting up early in the morning, which I do not. But I'm gonna tell you what I do appreciate. I appreciate the quiet time that I spend. That time, I could tell you that is that during this 2 seasons, because I started in December. Well, December to July was one of my challenging moments getting up. But I can tell you the part of enjoying made me appreciate the moment was that silent time. So I was thinking about what El Karar was sharing about exploring. And some of those times when after I have the quiet time, I got my earphones on because I got to drown out all the outer noise. And I love music. And so I'll play music and I'm like, so I was just reminiscing what El Karar was saying, because that gets me through and it helps me, like it was said earlier about my mind always goes through so many things to get done. It's like I go through this a lot. It's like 24 hours is not enough. Before I know it, it's like, oh my God, it's late. I got to go to bed now. I got to get up. Talking about time, the time of the day. The strong goes by so quick. Even to the fact that I appreciate Sabbath. And then before you know it, it's over. And I'm like, oh God, now we got to go back to second day to the 6th day. But the point is, during that quality time, what did I do? What did I share? What did I complete it? What did I fulfill? Because during that time that we have, there are tasks. There's a purpose. Did I complete that purpose? Do I need further instructions on how to complete that purpose? So this is going back to like we were sharing as we're building on this subject, is that utilizing that time, that moment, because like Chief said, there is really isn't. That we will. We were quoting something. I ain't gonna spoil it for a mess, man. Like I'm gonna hold that. I was almost said because it made me think about. Chief said it, and but we'll talk about it later. I'll bring that up later. But it goes. But what? Dang it, my train of thought. See, talking about time, just train of thought just goes like that. But
I think I know what you were referring to.
Right.
We can get to it. Yeah, I'll put it in the, and I'll mute out because the ice crunching monster is back.
Right. But
were you talking about this quote?
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I thought about the same thing actually.
Huh?
I'll mute out. I thought about the same thing when I read Chief's comment.
Go ahead. You want to speak on that? Go ahead. No. You don't want to put it there, so no, you speak on it, and then I'll come in after it. Don't worry about it. I got you, my brother. I got you.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So this is a quote from Khalil Gibran, and I thought of it when we were talking about just time in general, and that timeline of you go to school, you do this, you do that, and then you retire, right? And what Chief had said earlier, I was like, oh, okay, that's the quote. That's what he's talking about. When Chief had said, I never track time unless I'm working outside my purpose. My moments are based on purpose, which bases in truth. When truth is measured within my cipher, equally there is no time, right? And this is from a book, The Madman. It's just a collection of parables and proverbs. But he said, we measure time according to the movement of countless suns, and they measure time by little machines in their little pockets. Now tell me, how could we ever meet at the same place and the same time? And we were building on it because when we talk about moving according to our own time, or like Chief would say, you moving according to your own drum. When he was breaking down that song, if you're dancing to the beat of your own drum, then to someone else who's dancing on a prescribed prescribed beat or prescribed rhythm, right? They would think that you're off beat. They would think that you're off balance. It took so long for people to fathom what jazz was, because like a lot of people still don't understand it. I don't get jazz, but everybody's ad-libbing, but at the same time, everyone's moving on the same frequency. And we were also talking about eras, like back in a certain era when you had to wind up your watch. You would always see in these like spy movies when they're like, okay, we'll go in now, let's synchronize our watches, and then we'll get back out at this time, or we'll meet back here at this time, but we got to synchronize our watches. Now everything is synced up to satellite, so nobody really worries about whether or not they're in the right time zone or whether or not their clock is accurate. The satellite does everything for us, right? But again, you're syncing up your time, or you're syncing up your frequency, or even like the grandfather clock in the background. You have that metronome that's helping you to keep beat, and you even have your internal clock, your heartbeat. And sometimes people have like an irregular heartbeat. Sometimes it's a little different. Sometimes it's off, and it's threatening. But sometimes it's just not the same as everyone's heart, and you have to respect the fact that it's not the same as everyone's heart. And the person who has it, whether their heart is a little larger than anyone else's, like they even have to be made aware, like you got to be careful with it, because it may be difficult to find a suitable donor if your heart is a certain size. But I was just thinking in terms of syncing up time. Like you're moving based on a prescribed clock that doesn't really change for anyone. That's the time that waits for no one. That time where you're moving based on what the larger society says. You need to do this, or you need to do that, or you're this age, you should have had this done by now, or you're this age, so you can't do this until this time, this pre-appointed time. You can't really do adult stuff until you're an adult, and you're not an adult until you turn 18. But you're an adult when you're 18, regardless of your level of maturity and preparation for adulthood. But you can't do adult stuff at 13, regardless of your preparation or your maturity. And people trying to align you to their clocks, sometimes you can become very self-conscious about it, and you may even begin to doubt yourself. Like, am I too young for this, or is it too early for me to start this, or am I ready for this? Like, this person invested this amount of years into this schooling institution, so of course they're more prepared than me. So why would I go for the job if I know that 6 people with this degree already did it? But you may neglect the fact that you've put in time and effort and energy into it. But it could be hard to measure the level of education that person got versus the level of education that you got. But you shouldn't be comparing yourself to their clock or their time, because the journey that you went through to get to where you're at, it was by design. As long as you didn't try to skip steps, as long as you didn't drag your feet in certain areas, if you approach your journey with integrity, then you should continue to move through it, as opposed to trying to avoid it because it seems scary up ahead, or it seems likely that you may lose. You should still go through it. And that's the warrior energy that Chief often encourages us to have. Not moving forward without preparation, but always being ready to push through whatever our challenges may be. But I'll leave some room for our root. You want to jump in on that too?
It's funny. Master Miller, like, I'm gonna leave some room, like the time is gonna elapse. Like, okay. One of the things I appreciate about Master Miller, like, it's funny because earlier we were talking about the noise in the background, and it's a ticking sound. But you know what that reminds me of? And Master Miller, like, you just brought you. Thank you. We do this a lot. We'll think of each other. We'll think of something, and then we'll call or text and, like, man, I was thinking the same thing. But this is the thing I appreciate about Master Miller. But anyhow, and especially as we've been working together with this. But he tapped on something. The reason I like the clocks and is because it reminds me of the heartbeat. And it's funny you said that. You're like, dang it, that's what I was. Sometimes I have the words is like, kind of break it out and bring it. And Master Miller is like, that composer is like, well, this is what. So anyhow, this is the excitement of time. Doing these segments, having fun. But I want to use that as an example. The ticking reminds me of a heartbeat. Going back to
I'm sorry, our root.
Huh?
I thought it was just my side because of my connection, but it seems like the audio is glitching for everyone inside of the chat.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, is it okay now? Is it okay now?
I can't unmute to say, because then it's going to get worse. But I'll let everyone in the chat say whether or not they can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep going, and they'll let you know if it's clear or not. I'm not sure what you can do, but I know for sure when I mute, I was muted. So let me mute out again, and we'll see. So I'd suggest keep going.
Okay. We're gonna roll with it. Okay. What the reason I love the sound in the background, because it reminds me of a heartbeat. the heartbeat. I love hearing, if any of us, you're talking about time, but if any of us have ever taken the time to listen to your heart, listen between the beats. Now the question is, between the beats, there's something going on. Now, of course, like Master Miller was saying, if you have an irregular heartbeat, that's not good. It's unhealthy. But let's say you have a healthy heartbeat, and of course, it's going to change if you're exercising. It's funny because on my watch, it monitors my walking and running time, and it's like, okay, okay, your heartbeat's going faster. You must be running now, or you must be walking now, and then it measures how many distance and if I've done 2 miles, 3 miles, or so. I'm like, wow. But my point is the heartbeat. And then I will meditate on just that. So it's like between the beats, what's going on between there? And then it's synchronizing. Like it's not off. It's just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so those are moments where, again, I look at, like I said, I love looking at ants. I mean, I look at nature, but it's interesting. The last couple of strongs, I walk and I don't like stepping on the ants. Okay, Abu can exit and re-enter, and then I can come back. Let me do that. I'll exit and then come back. Okay.
Okay. But what Abu Haruk was sharing, willfully you all could hear it. You're talking about heartbeat. Okay. Ina Sequoia is saying it's still glitchy, but she could hear it. Yeah, but what Abu Haruk was saying about heartbeats and aligning. Of course, you like insect warfare. Akio Kura. She said ants. Okay. Abu Haruk's pocket. I almost heard Chief. But okay, you want to try again, Abu Haruk? I'll mute up.
Okay, what were y'all doing? What were y'all talking about while I was gone? I was only gone for a split second. I wasn't gone that long.
Look at that.
Well, I'm gonna continue building off of what I was sharing about the heartbeat. I don't know if everybody heard it. Is it clear? I think everything's clear.
Yeah, they could hear you. It was just glitching in the background, but it's clear now.
Okay,
but
well, it's not that. Let me, because that's been beaten all the time. So it's not that. It must be the connection. But no, I was just sharing about the heartbeat. Master Miller was just reminding me, the clocks always remind me of a heartbeat. That's really what I love about it, because just taking the time, if any of us have ever taken the time to listen to your heartbeat, it's the most phenomenal. Oh my God, I'm like a third grader or kindergarten. I'm like, wow, listen to that. And it's because it's a movement. And then it's a pause in between. So those moments that and going back to timing, it's synchronized. It ties into, as what we're sharing is, because if the heartbeat is off, your timing could be off. But then what I love about the sound in the background is it's like a pulse. It's a rhythm, like music, like sound, like season, in and out of season. Of course, being in season. So, but the point is with that, I brought that to this moment of sharing, is that paying attention to the timing. Like I said, what did I do within that course of that strong? Did I complete the task that I was meant to complete? There are times where when I'm doing a project or anything that I'm called to do, I'm always strict to myself about, oh my God, like we're talking about timing, like, oh my God, I lost set of time. Or like Master Menelik and I were talking about, there are times where we were doing something and the time just went by. even like I said, with these segments, it goes by so fast. It's like, dang, talking about what Emma Sequoia was mentioned earlier, the time it flies so by, you having fun. But at the same time, it's like, what did I get to accomplish within that time? And that's going back to what I love about what we're talking about. I was sharing about the heartbeat. It's staying on point. And it's one of my rhythmic meditations that I like. So that's why I enjoy that as I share with our timing, because time, of course, is an illusion. It's we really you don't really measure it by that. That's just for our minds to figure it out. But at the same time, it's like season. That's where it goes back to season. That goes back to, are we living our purpose? Are we accomplishing the things we're accomplishing? Like I said, doing the segments helps me to do my work better. That's one of the things I was sitting here thinking about that last strong, and doing these segments with Master Menelik and studying it more and more and applying it. It has it's helped me to more than just appreciate the moment, but also doing, when it comes to my homework and studying and everything, it helps the study go smoother for me. It helps me to comprehend. And then when I step out of time or out of the moment, it's like, for me, I look at it like not wasting it. If that really doesn't make any sense to me, because why? It's like utilizing, I go back to what Chief was sharing. It's going about when you're doing your purpose, fulfilling it, there is no time. Just fulfill it, because it's not measured by that. So I just wanted to share that, as I know is the sound. I'm glad that we were able to connect the connection. And it's funny, I don't hear that noise, but anyhow, just adding to what Master Menelik was sharing.
Yeah, man. I mean, we building. We building, and yeah, a lot of what you had shared about being. I was gonna say it while you were off, and then I got distracted by the chat. But that idea of being present in between moments, because you have a connection. You have certain periods and moments in your life, and something may happen and you consider it to be significant, but sometimes we fall prey to the temptation to consider other moments to be less significant. So you may, let's say you're going to compete in some sort of tournament, right? Let's say if you're I don't know, if you shoot, I'm not gonna say billiards, but if you if you shoot pool, right, and you play in a pool tournament, if you're working at it, and this is a point that came to mind, and you just like sort of tighten it up for me in terms of the idea of the concept that Chief was putting forth in the segment Facing Goliath. That was one of the segments that I listened to leading up to this, because Chief was talking about certain seasons in your life and really facing that thing that you're afraid to face. And when it comes to like a tournament or something, Chief was like, well, I'm not always, you don't always, you don't see me studying, right? I don't turn on the camera and study in front of you so that you can see how much work I put into it, so you don't get to see how much time and energy and focus is put into studying a concept before it's presented to us, so to us, it seems like it's easy because there was so much work put into it beforehand. And the same could be said of like if you put in your work and you focus and you study and you practice shooting pool, you know how to apply English and you know how to do your bank shots and you know all of the rules, you know how to shoot and play defensively, all of these different things. So when you're playing, people may see it and be like, oh, I could do that. because they're looking at it's like the principle of rhythm, right? They're looking at the swing of that pendulum, right? But people tend to focus on this point or at this point, right? They only see when it's just about to come back, and they think of those moments as the poignant moments, right? So you may see someone at their lowest and think, okay, that's a significant moment, or you may see someone who just won, right? So you could have the person who just lost the tournament and the person who just won, and think those are the only significant moments, but you discount the moments that led up to them, like the time in between the beats, like you were saying. So I might have been up for like 8 hours just practicing nonstop every day. I devote 8 hours into just practicing and working on different theories and different techniques and learning how to get out of certain situations and just sharpening my mind so no matter what, I can make an intelligent decision. You miss that part, but you get the part where I'm performing, right? And we look at the performance and try to skip to it. And it's similar to what Chief was saying. Not similar, it's what Chief was breaking down in the segment he did on doing the right things wrongly, instead of doing the wrong things right. Right. And I always have to make sure I say that properly. It's like a tongue twister. But it's true. Like you have to be willing to do the right things wrongly, and that if you don't go through that, if you try to skip it or get around it or get over it, and you don't allow for that season of the initial burn, and then getting up to the point where you can apply it with a little bit more confidence, and then get to the point where, okay, it's like second nature. Now you're trying to innovate. That's that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? You're taking in the knowledge, you're applying it, and then you're at a point where you can evolve it. If you don't go through that and you're only looking at, I want to get to the end, this is what Chief was sharing, then you miss the whole point, because you don't go through the initial stages. And again, because you're looking at everyone else around you and you're measuring, you're trying to adjust your clock to their timing, right? Or what you perceive to be their timing. So if you go on Instagram and you try to adjust your clock to that, you're like, I'm not going to study. I'm just going to launch out there and do it. Well, they did it and they were successful, so I'm going to do it too. As opposed to paying attention to your own clock or your own heartbeat. Heartbeat. What am I, from Boston? Heartbeat. Your own heartbeat. You don't pay attention to your own heartbeat, then you don't actually get the opportunity to tune into your own rhythm or your own drum. And what Chief was sharing in that segment on Facing Goliath, you need to be able to spend time with yourself in very quiet places so that you can actually hear that heartbeat, or you could actually hear that rhythm, or you could actually hear your ticker ticking, like some people call their heartbeat. Some people call the ticker. That was a phrase that's a phrase that some people use. My ticker's ticking. But yeah, it's like an internal clock that you can move with and connect with. It's either that or you try to connect with the external clock and try to wonder why nothing's making sense. But you don't know what time it is. You don't know what season it is because you're not tuned in to your internal clock or your internal sense of time or how things should go or what the Most High is telling you, because it's so loud and noisy outside. So I'll pause there and I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, as you were sharing, it's interesting. Like, I looked at the things like people say, like, I don't get to watch sports. I don't get to be on social media because I tell people I don't have the time. My time is I can measure my time with what I'm doing. Studying.
I'm wrestling. Sorry, the glitch is coming back.
Oh, darn it. Darn it. Darn it. Can you hear me now?
You're clear, but it was just slowly creeping in. I don't know if it's going to keep creeping in, but we'll see. I'll mute back up. We'll see. Everyone in the chat can let you know too.
Okay. It sounds. I mean, of course, it sounds clear to me, but anyhow, that's just me. But no, it was just going back to how people idolize the time. Like I watch people with their electronic devices called cell phones. They have what time to be on these gadgets or distractions or so. For me, I don't have my phone when I'm working, where some people can't function that way. Because again, it goes back to the quality time, the internal part, and that's where I'm able to let go. Just like it's funny, El Karar was mentioning about, and Chief mentioned about ants. I've been watching when I'm walking, especially when I'm walking, and I walk about 4 miles a day. I notice that when I'm walking, I'm always seeing a colony of ants. And yes, they're clustered. And so of course I ain't gonna step on them because or any of the bugs, I'm like, whatever, I'm not gonna step because I don't want to disturb that. But I watch that in little things that people take for granted. And going back to like time, I don't have time with idle stuff. I was actually interesting. It was a couple of Strongs ago where I was looking at and I'm like, wow, I don't really, other than our movie night, I don't have time to watch a lot of stuff that I used to before this. It's been months. I mean, you're talking about a couple of seasons, and I thought about this, like, wow. If people ask me, well, did you see this show? I'm like, no, I don't have that time for that. Because why? I'm always studying. And I don't have no problem with it. Even when I went on vacation, I was still studying. I was still working. And even I had a glitch. I had a moment, and it was on vacation where I lost a sense of time. And that was because there was no alarm clock, there was nothing, and I was disoriented. It's interesting because I remember I watched myself, because what I'll do is I'll watch myself in certain periods. But I had it when I was on vacation some Strongs ago, and it was interesting because some moments it's like, wow. It was like everything stopped. And it was like, oh shucks, I'm faced with this moment of I didn't have my clocks in the background. It was like nature. It was the only thing that was measured was the sun. I do pay attention with that. And I did spend some time in the sun. And it was a lot spending that. But the point is, that was the only time. And even with that, I felt out of pocket a little bit, because when I'm at home, I'm always in movement. I'm always doing something. And then even though when I was on vacation that time, it was like some parts stopped. And I know it's going to happen the same thing when we go on a retreat. When I go on a retreat, it's like, okay, I'm going to get up still early in the morning, but it's like I'm not getting up and I'm walking 4 miles a day. I'm not going to see those ants unless I see the ants when we're going. We'll probably see the ants or see something in nature or acorns or something like that. My point is, those little moments, I don't have time to waste on certain things that are unimportant to me. Like I said, the social media and the sports, and people talk about they're going to this concert or going whatever these outings are. So, but it's like, no, I don't know. I like the fact that I'm able to withdraw from the outer chatter, and because I love that solitude of quietness. I love that, like, again, every morning, again, appreciating the very fact that even though I don't like getting up in the morning, but I appreciate it, and got me through it was the very fact that the silent part, that spending that quality time, that silent time, that inner time of beats, as we say. So I just wanted to share that as we are building on this concept of time. And like Master Mendel was sharing, and like I said, the quotes that, even with that, just to think about the quotes and looking at the work as we're building from this. So That's pretty much what I wanted to share. As always, I'm always gonna be sharing something, Master Miller, because you're gonna bring something like, it reminds me of Akizak. Akizak said, you know what? Just when you think it's finished, it's so funny. He's like, oh, you know what? That made me think about another absent, and it's funny because I love watching Akizak when he does that. He was like, you know what? That brought me to a point. You know what? I remember when I was in the woods and I saw Smokey and the Bear. And Smokey and the Bear, and I have those moments too. So I just wanted to share that. And it just make me laugh when Akizak does that all the time.
Yeah, but uh, okay, let me see what's going on in the chat. In between beats is silence. It makes me think of sound and silence. I think you're referring to because I know there's a Chief UER podcast. I think that might be it. No, it was The Power of Silence, I think. Ima Sequoia says some want to skip the process they have to go through, not wanting to put that necessary work in. All like Chief would say, people are like, how much time will it take for me to get this? How long I got to study before I can sound like you? They want the quick and dirty version. They don't want the process. Alpha Woman Now with Yakira Eden says, that's such an interesting observation, Abu Harut. It's so true. We use our phone to check the time and wind up on social media being non-productive. Yeah, you get sucked in, because you just see those icons and you've already programmed yourself over time, right? Going back to Chief's point about time being our vehicle for branding. You look at a phone and you see an image and you're like, last time I saw this image, I tapped it, so let me tap it, but it's not like a thought process. It's just a natural thing. But imagine how everything you do is geared towards your purpose. So no matter what, you're always living on purpose. You don't have to look at your clock because you're moving with a certain type of rhythm in life. And once you stick to that rhythm, you'll be cool. There have been times where, and it freaked me out, where like I'm out and my phone dies. I might have forgotten to charge it, or I thought I plugged it in, but I got to be somewhere for a certain time. And I just go towards where I got to go. And I make it to everywhere, not necessarily at a pre-appointed time, but I still get there on time. Like I don't get there when I plan to be there, but I get there when I'm supposed to be there, if that makes sense. And it's so it seems so freaky because I don't have that trust to say, if I leave here without constantly looking at my clock to make sure I'm on time, that I'll get there on time. It's not like if you're dreaming and you look at a clock and it's 10 o'clock and you look away and you look back, it's going to be 3 p.m. Time flows like that in the astral realm, maybe with time, right? But it doesn't flow like that here. Like, you can move with confidence, knowing that you're moving on time, right? Because you're moving according to your own time. It's not to say show up late to everything on purpose, but at the same time, I think we put too much anxiety into our daily movements. And when you brought up the topic, Abu, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, what time is it? Because that's what we ask ourselves with panic. Like, typically when we ask a question, we got some sort of small or large level of anxiety. Is like, you might be just sitting down chilling and you just pop up like, oh, what time is it? I missed something. You always feel like you're missing something, or you're not where you're supposed to be, as opposed to moving with a level of divine timing. But again, you can't tune into your internal clock if it's always noisy out. If every time you look at your phone, there's a distraction there waiting for you, or you always have this 6 or 7 obligations that may not be related to your purpose, occupying space in your mind. it's very difficult to quiet yourself down because you're always thinking you're going to miss something. If your life isn't like as simple as you could possibly keep it, while still doing what you need to do. If you overcomplicate your life with a bunch of um, activities they're not like supplementing your purpose, they're just like there because it's according to a foreign clock, then you won't really move efficiently in what you need to do because it's going to drain you. I'll mute out. I think I see what you're saying. We were talking backstage. Our roots like this topic may need a part two, and because I know there's a lot more stuff that you wanted to share too, in terms of this concept. So we didn't even get into like some of the scriptures that we were talking about too, especially with Ecclesiastes and also Second Timothy, talking about timing, right? Second Timothy, Second Timothy, verse 2, and talking about moving in season and out of season. I say, why? Because I just looked up time and season in my Bible app, to get started, and I saw in season, out of season. Why does that sound familiar? It's like, oh, Chief did a segment. What was that now? 7 years ago, in 2016. Because anytime I think 2016, I don't know. Part of me is still stuck in 2020, and I'm like, oh, that was 4 years ago. No, it wasn't. I'm still stuck in 2020 where it's easy to calculate time. It's like 7 years ago. But in that, Chief was talking about moving in season and out of season in terms of being consistent in what you're doing and standing on your square. Like whether it's trending or not, it doesn't really matter. Whether people consider it to be inspirational or not, or they consider it to be easy to digest, or people are receptive to it. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're moving according to spirit and according to the Most High, whether it's in season or out of season, right? That's another term or meaning we can use in terms of time, because you have seasons or you have cycles. You could have a show that has seasons, or you can have a fruit that's in season, But when it comes to something being in season in the secular space, it's not in season to well, it's sort of dying down. But a year or two ago, it was not in season to talk about a certain sickness, and even now I can't mention it because certain things on on the internet or when you're streaming, it's like the age of Voldemort, where there's certain things you can say that could just get your stream shut down. That's the type of season we're in. So you can't say certain things, quote unquote, right? But if you're moving in season or out of season, it doesn't really matter, And another aspect of that is being instant, right? So, and I think it's here. There we go. Preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. And Chief even did another segment talking about sound doctrine. But after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. Right? And that right there, it lets you know, no matter what people are receptive to, it doesn't matter. You just keep speaking the truth. You keep moving on that level of timing that the Most High has placed you on. It doesn't matter that people don't want to hear the truth in this timing. It doesn't mean that you should adhere to things that contradict the truth, or you should lean more towards them. What matters is that you're moving regardless of the seasons or regardless of the times, the external seasons. You're moving according to that clock and according to that mission that you've gotten. But I said I was going to mute up.
Oh wow, that was my cue. I'm sorry. I was just listening and tuning in to what you're sharing. As you were sharing, Master Man, like, because as you were sharing with Second Timothy, what was coming to mind, I thought there's that cartoon. It's fun. There go Aki's accent, my dying gun hit. Talking about timing. There was that cartoon. Remember that cartoon? I think it was. I don't remember, it was a squirrel or whatever, but whatever it is, it was gathering nuts. It was gathering nuts, and then it was like whatever the season was. It was like let's say in the spring or summertime, and it was gathering nuts. It's going back and forth. So they were laughing, and I'm like, "What you doing? Why are you working so hard? What are you doing?" Like I'm, he's preparing for, So they're laughing and laughing, and it was a squirrel. I think it was a squirrel or something like that. But anyhow, I don't remember. I just remember the cartoon. So meanwhile, as he was working, because he recognized he had to prepare for something, even though at that moment he could have watched this. He could have been on his cell phone. he could have been on social media. He could have watched the sports game. What he was doing, he was working. So by the time the seasons changed, now it's wintertime. And those who were laughing at him and making fun of him, guess what? They're hungry. Where are we going to get food? Meanwhile, he's in his season, relaxing, hibernating, enjoying the moment. Because why? The season changed. It's wintertime. There's no fruit. There's nothing bare. Everything's bare at that time. So now they were laughing a couple of seasons ago, but look at them now. They're not laughing because why? They don't have no food. They don't know how they're going to make it through the winter. And we're talking about during another season. So a season of winter, if you're in Chicago, it could be 3 months to 6 months. What are you going to do with you? Going back to what you were sharing about the season, there was a time over 2 years ago. We were given a season. We were being prepared. For some of us, I'm pretty sure some of us left back and bought toilet paper, which you're not gonna eat no damn toilet paper, by the way. I couldn't believe that when they were doing that. I'm like, what the hell? Y'all gonna gather toilet paper? Okay, there's all these leaves out there, but anyhow, that's a whole nother story. But the point is, they were following the wrong. They were listening to the crazy ones, but they didn't stock up on food. They didn't stock up on the necessities to get them through. Okay, so I was thinking about, as you were sharing, it made me think about that story of the season of that cartoon, and going back to, and also what you were sharing, you were saying about the cell phones. I don't panic anymore when my phone goes dead or it's like 2%, because now it's just, I mean, hell, I'm like, well, I went through the whole day. I'll be home soon. Because again, there was a season that I knew there was no cell phones. You had to talk to somebody. You had to wait until you get home, and you call them and hope no one's on the phone when you get home. Or if you can't wait until you get home, there's a payphone in the corner. I'm going to take pictures. Because there's a large generation of us that don't know what it was like before cell phones. Before, I remember when they were talking about it, well, you be able to pay your bill, you be able to do this. But now, I used to panic about losing your phone, or the phone is going dead and you can't. Well, I'm like, I ain't on social media anyway. I got because I carry it with me.
If my you still cracking up, Abaru. Your phone is cracking up, brother.
It's cracking up again. Okay.
Yeah, man, you real glitchy. You might want to restart again. Yeah. All right. Peace, brother. By the way, peace, brother. Yeah, man. So we over here talking about times, good stuff. You know what I mean? I think we were talking about like the moments and stuffing time in our spaces with so many moments, and I think a critical thing with that is that time is only measured by events and moments. You
I don't know if it's just me. You're sounding out, Chief. Huh? Okay, I don't know what just happened. Um,
Wow. Albert Root knocked me off or what?
I don't know. It's saying that he's not connected, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, too much real, too much masculinity.
Yeah, no, right? Can't
You know,
take it. Can't handle it.
right. The system overload. But it's really those events, and I think it's important for us as developing and evolving people to be aware of our events because before this recent thing in 2020 it was the thing that happened in 2001, and that was our time marker. So we would say, yeah, when that thing happened in 2001, then that, before that happened, after that happened, and then now this one is pre and post. So it's the events that we measure time by, and it's only the commonality of the events. Are you looking at what happened in 2001, Master Miller? Because I saw your screen light up. You go on, you ain't that young.
I was trying to see what's going on in Albert Root because he
Oh,
kept
okay.
trying to join. That is,
Yeah, it's probably his connection.
yeah,
But
it looked like he quarantined.
yeah, it could be that. But yeah, it's important to measure your own events because you can't feel your clock. There's no clock that you're like, okay, we're moving further. And how do you really measure, what that clock looks like until you're looking at events? So even like the question you shared, like when people say, well, if I do this, is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? Or how long is this going to take? It depends on the events because it's your different plateaus that you reach that determine your time. So the time is all determined upon the work that you put in. So if you're growing and you're hitting measurable benchmarks, then you will feel the the movement of time. And when we typically lose track of time, or people who lose track of time, is because they have no significant measurable events in their life. So they turn around like, man, where did the last 3 years go? Where did the last 4 years ago? Because you didn't really do anything that you could witness to say that this was an interval, and then this was my next interval. For some people, it's a monthly thing. Every month at a certain time, something happens or I act a certain way. Um, but there's no unconscious way that we measure time, if you will. It's only through the passing of events. So time itself, in order to measure time or to know time, we have to be conscious. Time is only something for the consciously aware, because you have to be consciously aware of your experiences in life, of your experiences in your journey. And again, they have to be significant to who and what you are. They have to be significant to, what maybe you persist in. Because a lot of times we determine time based off of what's persistent. Every day this happens. Every night this happens. Okay, so that must be a measurement. That's an event that I'm probably supposed to measure. And we start to become consciously aware of all the things that are happening around us in a real way. So now we start to detect patterns, and then those patterns become our clock, if you will. But if you're not aware of what's happening around you and you're not aware of your clock, then you'll never master time, because you're not aware of the horoscope. You're not aware of the patterns. So there's all these different happenings that are happening, and you may not realize that consciousness and time are interwoven within each other perfectly. you know well, maybe almost perfectly, because it's a little complicated, because there's also an unconscious measurement as well. And we have this awareness within us that is always digging at the past. It's always digging at the past to help us identify how much time went by. So we end up getting that consciousness of past and present, and being a part of the process of being past and present when you're dealing with time, right? So you got to always look at, like, when your unconscious mind is digging at these things, what is it using as your foothold interval? Is it a divorce? Is it a breakup? Is it when you got fired? Is it when you got really sick, when your house was foreclosed upon? You got into a car accident, the last hurtful conversation you had. These will be all the things that will kind of involuntarily um, create that temporal depth, as we call it, um, that you're anchoring yourself on. It comes from those things, and then we become aware of things in the present, but the present just pertains to a single moment, a single immeasurable moment. But those past events are the ones that, they're not tiny. The present is very tiny. It's very small. But when we have those conscious stories and narratives within ourselves, we infer a memory, usually of something that's significant. So we have to create our own significant. It's like putting your own numbers on the clock, if you will. And you have to create your own significant ones in order to properly master time. you know
Similar to in that movie, Captain Fantastic, where they were making their own holidays.
yes, right. We determine what's significant to us, which then determines what our clock looks like. And if you don't understand consciousness, you'll never be able to do something like that, because there has to be an awareness of this thing. And they were a tribe, a family. That family established their own tribe, so therefore they could accurately be aware of their past, because this is a date, Noam Chomsky, you know, and being accurately aware of their past allows them to be accurately aware of what their future is, you know.
Okay. That also reminds me of just speaking about having significant events in your past, and depending on how significant it was to you, like it has more pull to it. And I was thinking about, like, I didn't explore it enough to be able to bring it up confidently, but
Mm.
in terms of time, the relationship between time and gravity.
Hmm.
But I was thinking about, like, the heavier the moment, the more it kind of distorts or dilates your perception of time since that moment, and everything related to that moment, leading up to it and happening after it. Like, you would always measure it based on this thing, like you
Right.
said, like the breakup, or like certain movies start like that. Like, it starts at the breakup, and everything else that happens in the movie is defined by the breakup. Or even like in that movie where it starts with the mother's death, and everything after that is based on what happened to the mother.
Yeah. It's because in those moments, man, when you have like those heavy moments that you're describing, you're being forced to be totally aware of everything that's happening around you. And like when we say, like, time flies when you're having fun, is because you're so preoccupied in what you're doing that you're no longer noticing the change around you. It's like children will want to play, and the sun is going down, it's getting dark, and they don't even notice it, right? Like, that's a part of the play, that's a part of the fun, like, whatever, but they're only preoccupied in that moment. And then when you say, come on, it's getting late, we got to go, or it's getting cold out here, or come on, put your jacket on, your nose is running, whatever it is, now time becomes a reality, and they start bargaining for time. Please, 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 1 more hour, please. Now they know what time is, because they've been pulled away from the preoccupation, and pulled into this awareness of, there's a world that's changing around you. So that hurt, or those hard moments, or heavy moments rather, that you speak about, are that's the slap in the face that says the world is changing. It's similar to, in the same instance, when you're bored. When you're bored, time becomes the enemy. And it slows down, and you become really, really aware of how it moves. And it when we become accustomed to our boredom, then time speeds back up again. It's as soon as you become comfortable with monotony, time moves really fast. So it's learning to even master the pain of those heavy moments that causes you to now be able to leap forward into the future, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, give thanks for that. That kind of reminded me of there's this one movie with Martin Lawrence. I think like he had a bee allergy, and the police, like, they were trying to kill the bee, but it looked like this white cop was beating him, and he got
Hmm.
stung by the bee. It looked like he was beaten so badly the cop got fired. He went to jail, but the first thing he did was like he hit one of the officers or one of the prison guards, because he looked down the hall and he's like, all right, I put some of these people in here. And he just hit him. He's like, all right, if I do this, they'll put me in solitary.
Hmm.
And then he was in solitary for a couple of months, and then he came out and he was like, how long was I in there? He has like a year. He's like, how long was I in there? Like 6 months. And he punched him again and closed the door behind him. He's like, I'm not going in Gen Pop. But I thought it was similar to that. And I remember I was young when I saw it, and I was like, if I ever go to prison, that's my strategy. I just wait and saw that I'm alone all the time anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, that reminded me of that when you're saying the monotony of it. When you get used to it, time would speed back up again. But that's a part of the torture of solitary, because it's like there's no events unless you make your own events in there. But you
Right.
might follow the deep end.
Well, time is always tracked in the mind. So ultimately, we have to, our milestones have to exist within the mind, because when you become out of sync with season, when you become out of sync with the creator, or just out of sync, period, is because you wake up one day and you look in the mirror, or maybe it's your earth day and you're a certain age, and you ask yourself, like, how the hell did I get here? How did I get here, man? And you really can't connect the dots. I really don't know how I got here. Like, how did I get to be this old, or this or that? And that's because you went through your journey without creating any significant interval dots, because you weren't coherent along the journey. As long as you're aware and coherent, you're always going to find these different milestones, but um you have to be able to excavate the boundaries of your own consciousness, and your ability to track objective changes. And all of that happens within the mind. So it doesn't, yeah, you could be inside of a room somewhere, but, when you're looking at the world only through a subjective lens, or a solipsistic lens, for those who still struggling to pronounce that word. Um, when you're looking at the world through that sort of lens, then um it warps time. Time becomes very warped because time becomes very internal, and it depends based on what you experience only. And is it there becomes now what occurs is a I'd say a disjunction between your mind and the physical world, because you're just so into yourself. This is why self-absorbed people, they get old and then they go get Botox and all kind of stuff, because it's like, oh my God, how did I get here? Yeah, because you weren't paying attention to the world outside of you. You were strictly internal. And now you've woken up and said, how did I get here? Man, how did I look this old? Because there is time has an objective sort of nature. That's why it beats everybody. It's, it has an objective nature, and we can try to represent it rationally in our own minds, which is cool. We can compare the way time passes using independent objects like calendars and clocks and reminders and things like that. But um when we perform only using those external rational things, then we lose touch with our own experiences as well. So there's a complexity to it, because there has to be the objective and the subjective in order to create this fluidity of time. And that's the cool stuff. Like, that's what you really live for in life. You live for those moments where you could see things changing around you, but then you can define it on your own terms, what you want it to be, but then jump into it and then jump out of it and then jump into it, jump out of it. You see, and that creates that. See, that's the mastering. Time is a dimension, and your mastering of time is learning how to get in and out of it. How to like slip in and out of it, if you will. Someone's like boxing, how to slip in and out of it. And it's like, um but when we have this preoccupation with only our consciousness and not how our consciousness perceives the external world, you know, then we don't even understand. We won't even learn how to alter time, because time is alterable, because it's measured by intervals. So you can change your intervals. You don't have to say like, yo, every year around this time this year, I get depressed. Well, it is your time. See you next year. you know Sometimes you just got one number on your clock. When we get here, now it's something else. But you can move the numbers around. They don't have to be evenly spaced, because time is a relative sort of experience. It's not something time. We say like time passed, but we don't really know if time passes or if time flows or if time extends out in different directions. We don't really know. You know what I mean? So that's good. If you don't know, ignorance is bliss, and that means you make it what you want it to be. Change the intervals. You can utilize different clocks. I think even when you look at like Einstein's theory of relativity, you know, um, it's that alterable aspect of the things that we see are relative. you know so then we start to realize that our experience within time is not objective, it's subjective too. In fact, there was a movie I covered a while ago that dealt with that.
In- Interstellar,
Interstellar.
right?
Yeah, you remember
Right. I
Interstellar.
couldn't find it. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Okay, I have it on the server. I could do the that thing, you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Chief is a plug. I
Yeah,
got you.
I got the bootlegs. I got the bootleg movies now. So yeah, it's like you were talking about looking down at the computer or the phone, for the time. It's just a set of numbers that's a surrogate to something that's actually real and measurable. But to get to the if you go to the real and measurable thing, then you'll start to master what that thing is. Instead of looking at oh, the number means this, it's 7 o'clock. Well, what the heck does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what that means. Eight. Okay. I keep seeing 222 on the clock. So it doesn't really mean anything, to be honest with you. you know, those are just surrogates. You know what I mean? So it's not the truth, so that's why truth I master equally. When you get to the truth of it, you start to learn how to get inside of that dimension and alter how you're going to relate. You form a new relationship with that dimension. Everybody doesn't doggy paddle the same. We all get in the water, but we all get in it differently. And I may be more winded and tired swimming than another person, depending on the technique that I utilize. You may take better advantage of time when you jump into that dimension because of the technique you utilize.
I used to suck at taking notes in school. I used to get teased every time.
Mm.
But I'm so focused on what the word actually means. That would be one point where I did lose track of time. I'm so focused on this is a new word. I don't know what this word means. By the time I figure it out, the class is over, and I gotta borrow someone's notebook. Like every
Right,
time.
because you lost tune. You went out of sync with the external events happening around you.
Right.
You know.
I used to do that a lot up until high school. Honestly, handwriting was like not my best skill inside of that time. Because I always used to ruminate and daydream. By the time I come back, it's like, nah, you got the time, bro.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
can't bargain for that time. You got another class. Beat it.
Right, but you were also creating your own clock. Like, if I learn this word, this is what's important to me. This is what I'll hinder my day on. I learned a new word today. Oh, you learned a new word in English class? No, no, I learned a new word in biology class. What? Like, that's not what you're supposed to learn new words. Well, that's what I did today. How was your day?
You can't make no money with no medulla oblongata. You supposed to do
Right.
with that.
Well, you're never going to use that word ever again a day in your life. Hey, well, I know it though, and I can count it. I remember today's a day.
Yeah,
So
spell it. Yeah, you can't
right.
spell it, can you?
Yeah, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow's class. Yeah, so I mean, you're creating your own clock in that way. You know what I mean? Like, you learn how to do that, man. Life gets very interesting. Life gets very interesting. That's why as we get older, time starts to move so fast because we become less interested with changing events around us. We become, we take on projects and things. Man, I got this dining room chair that man, it keeps, the leg is loose. I'm working on it. I keep fixing it and it keeps loosening back up. That's becomes really important to us, man. Or trying to lose that last 15 pounds or get our body back that we had when we were 20, where we become preoccupied with the internal a bit more. And these passing events they just don't hold the same, sway. We hear about, oh, such and such happened in the Ukraine. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's bad. Yeah, it is bad, but I mean, my chair though, like I'm working on this chair right now. you know, I'm sorry. I want to pretend like it's important, but at this point, at this age, I don't have to pretend. I don't really care. you know. So I mean, he'd be like, "Well, the next state over, it was over there though. I didn't even like hear it. I didn't even hear it happening. I don't really care."
They could have been a car crash next door. It's like, oh, I
Right.
still didn't hear
Right.
it.
I didn't. I was knocked out, man. I was working on that chair all night.
You didn't hear them shooting? They had a shootout. It's like, oh, did they catch him?
Right.
All right.
I was on the floor putting the crazy glue on that chair. So, I wouldn't got hit by no bullets anyway. I was already ducking down. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Yeah, that's the renegotiating of time, and it becomes so beautiful, man, when you set your own sort of clocks, whether you working by the sun or not. You start to learn you can work by the sun, you can work by the moon, you can work by midday. Man, it's just a body, and what exists outside of the body ain't paying attention to any of that. What exists outside of the body is looking at events. That's all it's looking for, events, deposits. That's it. And really your purpose achievements. What exists outside of the body says that you do this, that, because we're fulfilling a purpose here. And the faster you do it, the faster you can go home. And I don't really care how long you've been or how short you've been, but just get it done. You can get up and leave. And that's what that's functioning from. And everything outside of that is like, oh man, it was too soon, man. He had a whole life ahead of him. He did what he had to do, man. Let him go.
Whole life of what?
Right, exactly. Trying to figure out his purpose. Yeah, he already figured it out. He's done. Yeah, I mean, he finished his test. He brought his pencil up front, and he walked out the door.
That,
That's what happened.
that makes me think of the phrase they say, "the good die young,"
Hmm.
and how you were talking about the sisters were building on what is good, and you were chimed in. And it's like good is like it was this is what it was in my mind. I manifested it outside of it, and it reflected what was in my mind. It was good. All right, you're done.
Right. That's it. That's it. You know, there's only a let there be light once.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. That was it.
You know what I mean? So that phraseology died. It's all right. We use it. We done. All right. That's all we need. Go on. You can go. You can go be something else now. You know, it only had to happen once because it was done perfectly. You know, that's the thing. When there's perfect executions, the way they live is just it's phenomenal when things are correct. You know, how long they will live for, you know, when it's executed perfectly. You see, I mean, they're going to be talking about this country, the United States, forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
This is one of those heavy moments in history.
Right. This is like, yo, you ever read Revelations? Well, I was there. Let me tell you something, son. I was there. Yeah. Back in 2000, 2020. Yeah. The revelations of 2020, I was there. You
Back in
know,
my day.
yeah, back in my
You don't
day.
know how
Like,
good you got it.
right. Like, this is revelation. So it's like, yo, you guys perfectly achieved the apocalypse. Nice going.
Bravo. Well done.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Red skies, drought, famine, demonic possession. You know what I'm saying? Like the abduction and kidnap. Right? Check, like check, check. You know what I'm saying? Like you have done it all. You know what I'm saying? Like so. Yeah, I mean, perfect execution. That's why this country is so young. It's so young and almost done. It ain't even 500 years old. This is like the shortest empire in history to cause this much damage, responsible for the majority of the world's pollution.
Yeah, on a planetary scale, like you could talk about wars all you want back in the day, but y'all did it on the whole planet.
Right. You know, not to mention came here and wreck shop. You know what I mean? Came here with just a big rake and just say, hey, we're just gonna kill everybody and just all the people, with the animal, all the buffalo, them, the buffalo, the buffalo would do nothing to nobody. Yeah, well, just kill them off though. Just you know, I don't like their afros. They got afros. Just kill them. You know. So it's like, yeah, man, like this. So, but this has been the perfect execution of evil. You know, so it didn't have to be that long because they followed the plan. They never did anything good.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
still kill
saying?
and destroy.
Right. It's always been that plan from the beginning, and they never switched it up. And as a result, you know, one of the most powerful nations on earth, fulfilling its purpose.
How's your sound, Abu Arub? Is it better?
I hope it is. You know,
Nope.
as I was listening to Chief, I thought he made me think of the movie Groundhog Day.
Sound like the Nutcracker. Yeah, man. Sound like your nuts is cracking. But go ahead, man. We could kind of hear you a little bit. It's crackling up, you know what I mean? But yeah.
I think you might have to mute out. We both may have to mute out.
Yeah, I'll mute. Let's see what happens. Yeah, Abu Root got that Desert Storm internet connection.
No, I was thinking as Chief, as y'all building, I was thinking about the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, where the day keep repeating at 6 a.m. and it's like, and he just every day he's trying to change it, but I forgot how the story ended towards it. But the thing is, it keep repeating itself, and then that's like Chief was sharing earlier. When you get older, yeah, it goes by fast. It's like Master Man, like we were talking about. Oh my God, I think about 2000, year 19. I mean, yeah, it was year 2000 before 9/11, and now this, and now, like you said, you checked it off. Okay, you check it off. Okay, what? Or as people say, well, you know, we're at the end times. Yeah, you know, the world's ending. Yeah. Okay, it's still here. Yeah, but what are you doing with it? are you still gonna say, what are you doing with it? So I just thinking about those moments.
They're gonna say I was there. They're gonna have uh, they're gonna have uh-oh. There we go. It's funny how that sound thing works. But yeah, they're gonna say I was there. They're gonna have apocalypse T-shirts, you know, vintage America merch.
Some dude's
Yeah, I
gonna
was
sleep
there.
through it.
Yeah,
They're not even gonna. They're gonna wake up one day with a big stamp in the middle of their forehead. Tracking
mhm.
chips all over them, and like, how did I get here? You
Right.
slept through everything leading up to this point. So you have no connective dots. It's like, yo, last time I remember, I was in front of on the block selling oils, and
I just went back home to re up on my shea butter.
right, on my shea butter, and then I woke up like this and all this rubble. I'm being marched down the freaking street by robots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you slept through. You had no connective moments. I mean, this is the moment right now for people to be so wide awake, because you're seeing time march through a series of events, and if you're not paying attention, Amazon just made it available for customers to now pay at Whole Foods through their hand.
Yeah, and that's getting big in Germany too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep. They've been doing it in Switzerland for years. They were also doing it in I want to say Colombia. They started it because of the kidnappings, and then they realized that they can also do it to implant, you know, um, credit card chips as well.
mhm,
But Amazon is now it's a real thing, and we got the approval for the lab grown meat,
mhm.
not a fingerprint, not a fingerprint, more like a mark. Yeah, more like a mark.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
better word.
right? So it's like, are you adding it up? Like, are you seeing what's
Mhm,
actually happening? Like, but that goes to this. You talk about time. Let's look at the movement of time, because you can predict the future this way. We have robots now in restaurants here that will serve you your food. You can get
mhm.
the name of the bot is Servy, I think.
Sturdy.
It's- yeah, it's $1,000 a month. If you own a restaurant, you can lease it for $1,000 a month, which is nothing. You consider, you're spending about $12,000 a year for this robot server, and on average, restaurants pay between 26,000 and 34,000 a year for their serving staff
Wait,
for one server, right? So now what they're doing with Servy, they're having they're obviously firing serving staff, and they're having like one or two servers who just bring drinks, and then Servy brings
right.
your meal. But they're finding that those who serve now are getting bigger tips, because they're able to stand at the tables longer now and talk to people and stuff like that, while the robot's doing all the work, right? So
Okay.
it's very convenient. Even now, you think about it, they have the self checkout lanes in the supermarket, right? Walmart, all these different places, but the prices are higher.
Mhm.
So I got to go get it myself. I got to go bag it myself. I got to scan it myself.
Then I gotta
And
steal it myself.
yeah, right. I got to go through the work of stealing it myself, pretending like I'm putting it over the scanner. I'm not.
Right.
You know, and after I do all of that, you still charging me more, when in fact you should be charging me less, because I did half the work for you. And in some of
Mhm,
these stores, they having robots stack the shelves. So robots stock the shelf, and I did all the rest of the work, and you still charging me more. But we love the
mhm,
convenience because we can get in and out of the store. So when you have all of these things that are making it convenient, more convenient for you, that's a sign of time. That's a time interval. That's a time marker, right? Because then we'll say, well, you're making it so convenient for me that now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to introduce something else that's going to seem super convenient.
Mhm.
Well, we got the robot servers. And now at a lot of restaurants, you don't even have to talk to anybody because on the table they have the QR codes. And you scan the QR code with your phone and you can order whatever you want right there from your phone. And then the robot brings it to your table.
I've seen
So
some
the
of them in Asia.
okay, yeah, I could well, they always in the date.
Yeah,
That's
they
where
always
all of
do
it's made. They had
that.
tested out. So it's getting so convenient that now your mantra or your commanding order will be convenience. Convenience. Well, what else is convenient? Okay, well, let's see. We could get your car to drive itself. That's convenient. But of course, there'll be no police chases because we could just turn your car off. But
Right. Or we could program it to drive you straight to the police
take to
station.
the precinct, right, and lock the doors so they come outside. You might even
Right.
flood the car with knockout gas.
Hmm.
We could do that too, right from our offices.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
makes it convenient for us too.
right?
Convenience for you is convenience for us.
Yeah, they have them. You don't pay your payment. The car will drive itself to the dealership. You know,
Wow. That's messed up.
convenience though. Yeah, yeah. They
Where you going?
right. You know where I'm going. Oh, you thought you was gonna hide me under this car cover?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm going home, buddy. Cheap bastard. So it's like it's all of these things for convenience, but that's marching you into the beast system. It's driving you deeper into the beast system, right? That's a time marker. But if you don't mark these moments of time, then you'll wake up one day and you're like, yo, this is full fledged. Like the universal income, they're doing it in some states already in the United States. They're doing them by lottery now. Every month,
Oh.
certain people will get $1,500 a month. you know. So yeah, get nice and lazy, lazier, get lazier, get lazier, get lazier. All right, now we got control.
Hmm.
You see. So even getting rid of all the cash was a part of this. That was a time marker.
Right.
You don't use no any coins, don't use any cash, just use your phone. Just use your watch. Just use your eyes.
Just use your hand.
Use the iris scanner, right? Use your hand. More convenient, isn't it? You don't have to carry around that dirty cash. The cash is where you get sick. You
Hmm.
see, those are time markers. Those are the things to pay attention to because what happens next and what happened before. That's how you market. You see, you're
Yeah.
still wondering why
Basically.
Google gave you all those free services.
Hmm. Yeah. Now I know how you think.
Right, exactly. I know how you think, and you know what? In any authenticator or like this Google Pay, it's all
Hmm.
free. So
Right.
convenient. I don't have to carry around my credit cards because you know why? What's been the problem? All of these doggone people doing identity theft. Yeah, those are people who work for Google.
Hmm.
That's who's doing that. Stealing your identity left and right, and then they say, "Well, hey, it's the Hegelian dialectic." You know,
Right.
so they come forward and say, "Well, we have a solution for you. What's that? Just put all your credit cards into our authenticator app here, and then you could just pay through your phone. You got to keep the phone on you at all times, though. Well, man,
Right.
that's like a chip. Well, I understand you
Yeah.
don't want to use the phone. If you're working out, you could put it in your watch. Huh? In my watch? Yeah, you could put it in your watch. You see, so now you're chipped.
Right.
You know.
Even with the freedom a lot of people think they have with certain cryptocurrencies, they still have that Google Authenticator to log into certain things
Yeah,
or in
yeah.
order to use it.
Or some of the more intuitive platforms like Coinbase report to the IRS.
Hmm.
The platforms that are a little harder to learn that look more like traditional trading platforms, they don't report, but then you got to actually learn how to use them. It's a really steep learning curve. But if you want to just jump right into it, you can use Coinbase, you can use Binance, you can use Cash
Kraken.
App. No, Kraken has the advanced form. Kraken doesn't report.
Oh, they
Kraken
don't.
doesn't report. Metafilter doesn't report. There's but those bigger ones do. The easier ones. They do, you know. So again, the convenience of having something that's easier to use, but now you
What?
lose the whole point, right? You lose the whole point now of using this currency that exists outside of the baking grid.
Mhm. And it's sort
See,
of
but
like
mhm,
weaker but wiser. Like
we
you have
could,
all this techno,
right,
weaker,
weaker but
a
wiser,
weaker, yeah, you got all this
right,
technology, but you're so used to convenience that you rely on the technology, and
right.
you won't even you forget to think.
Yes, that's the point. We'll do it for you, and
Hmm.
even if you get in trouble, we'll bail you out. Don't even worry about it. So that's these are all time markers, signs of the time, and you know, Sister Yafe says opening AI for wider public use could be a marker as well. Then, um, yes, but that marker has it's been already happening because that's what Google is. There would be no open chat GPT if you didn't have Google. Google has been able to figure out what you want to know about, and how you form you Google Docs is free. Well, why is it
Hmm.
free? Because we get to learn how you type, we get to learn how you think, how you answer certain questions. So we're tracking you asked this question and then you wrote this document based on that question. So now we have these chat GPT. So that concept of AI, Space Odyssey 2001, the HAL 9000, it was AI, right? So this concept has been introduced to the wider audience for a very long time, and even retrieving your brain, that's been happening for a long time as well. In everything you do. I mean, why is Instagram free? Because we get to see what you want, what you like, what makes you upset, what you watch longer. YouTube is free. Why? The same exact reason. And then also we're cataloging your face, so we can easily do deep web fakes, and we can keep a running time of how you look, how you're progressing. If anyone's ever been incarcerated, um if you ever when you and you get incarcerated again and they find you in the system, the first thing they do and when they're processing you, you all know, do you have any new tattoos? Do you have any new scars? First thing they ask you, you know, and then they want to see them, and then they'll write a description of it, right? So they're cataloging you in that way. Well, we ain't got to do that now. You got a YouTube blog. You're a vlogger.
Yeah,
We
right,
see you getting older. We're watching, how
right.
you're changing, and we can figure out where you live even because tracking. So all of these things are markers of time, believe it or not. And if you're in tune with time, then you know what happens next. You know what happened before, and you know how to move accordingly.
You're thinking of certain mythologies, like people lulling you into that state of complacency and comfort. They're usually feeding you to fatten you up to get ready to cook you and eat you, or
Right.
just eat you live.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the thing is, the wise thing is to learn your captors. That's how you do it. Learn. I mean, that was Silence of the Lambs, or the Lamb. When they went to talk to him, he's like, "Don't say too much to him; he'll get in your head."
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know, that's how you have to be. You better learn the AI. You better take a class in MLS, or machine learning systems. You better learn deep learning. Don't sit here and get ran over by the machines. You can't learn things when you're in the middle of crisis. That's the mistake that we make far too often.
Mm,
Or we lose a job or something, and then we got to put a resume back together and realize we don't have any relevant skills, for where we are today. So yeah, you better learn the AI. AI is not evil. AI is awesome. I love it. It's great.
mm.
How you going to use it?
Yeah,
But
because it's objective.
it's right. It's subjective. It's the
That's the
way you
scary.
yeah, and it's not as smart as people think. The reason why everybody is so afraid of AI because they don't understand it. They
Yeah.
think like, oh, the machine's gonna be thinking they're gonna be sentient. Man, that won't be for like another 3,000 years. We are so
Yeah.
far from that. If you know anything about technology, like we're nowhere near to sentient computers like that. We're so far from that. From a technological perspective, the level of quantum computing that it would require for that. Right now, even your AI doesn't, the AI that you have access to doesn't even work for you without an internet connection.
Mm-hmm. And it only
That's to tell
works
you
up to
something.
a certain point. Like
Right.
even with Chat GPT, it's like I cut off at 2001. I mean, 2021. So anything
Uh-huh.
after that, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I really can't even have a back and forth conversation with you. I can't even
Mhm.
anticipate what you're going to say or what you're going to ask. So it's not as deep as people think, but what happens is that you become the actual machine that's running it, and your fear becomes the fuel for it. That's really what it is. You're afraid that you're going to go out and somebody's going to run a RFID scanner past your back pocket and scan all your credit cards. So yeah, you put them into Google, into GPay or Samsung Pay or Apple Pay. You'll do that, but people are not doing that like that. That's not easy to do, to just scan your stuff and for you not to see them, and you can you could literally just wrap your wallet in tinfoil if you're that scared, and they
Mhm.
won't see anything. you know
But I saw it in the movie.
right, exactly.
Yeah, the guy, I
So
saw he had a hood on.
yeah, and he took all his information and had the feds searching for. Nah, it's not as easy as you think, man. But the thing is, if our people perish for lack of wisdom and lack of knowledge. So we don't actually learn things. A lot of things are opinion and hearsay, and they're not actual right knowledge. And some of these things, you could spend maybe 3 hours worth of study and change your whole world.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, time.
right? I ain't
No
got
more
time
time.
for that, right? And if
No
you
more
ain't got
time.
time, is because if you don't have time to do things, it's because you're not on your purpose. Because you're like I said, consciousness and time are interwoven. So if you don't have time to do things, it means you're doing things unconsciously.
Mhm.
So you're just flailing about in the water, but your purpose will always make time to get it done. It will
Because
always
what
make
else you
time for
gonna
you.
do?
Right, exactly. But this. So your purpose isn't gonna be something that comes forward and it's like, here's your purpose, but you're not really gonna have time to get. No, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's not a carrot that's held over your head. That thing you're supposed to do, you have time to do it. You're just afraid to focus on that one thing because you're afraid to be preoccupied with one thing and allow all other things to pass by you unnoticed.
Mm. It makes me think of also the fear that certain females would cite that I can't be spend all my time just catering to no man. But like you
Hmm.
don't want to absorb yourself into a household because it's FOMO. You're afraid of missing out on what all the other ratchets are doing.
Right.
You know, I don't want to commit to a family or managing a homestead. So you'll equate it to just standing in front of a stove or a sink all day with an apron, cleaning and cooking. When it's like he was breaking down, there's so much more to it than that. You
And
know.
heck, even if it was just that, that's
Mm-hmm.
dope. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's you don't realize that till you get older and you begging for your children and your grandchildren to come see you, and they don't really want to be bothered because I ain't got time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else are you doing? What's more important than your family? You tell me. You was dropping me off at daycare every day. Like, you tell me, where were you going?
Sucker.
Right, exactly. Karma. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we look at the fulfilling of our purpose. Like most time, things that are our purpose, they feel like some sort of insult. You know, like if you're an artist and you say, yeah, I want to do art, like that's what I'm gonna do. Like you're almost embarrassed to say it,
Mhm.
you know, because it's like that's not what you're supposed to just want to do. You know, you're supposed to want to do something that people who don't have the gifts that you have can relate to.
Right.
You know,
Otherwise, it's
and
impractical.
it's impractical. Anything outside of what I'm able to do is impractical.
Hmm.
You know, it's just
Spoken like a
silly.
true hate.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's what do you take? What do you make time for? I don't make time for haters. I
Hmm.
don't even really be hearing them like that. Like so anybody could say anything to me. I really like if you really want to get something off your chest, I'm the guy to do it with because I'm
Hmm.
not listening anyway. You
Because
know,
it has to be
so
internal for it to affect you.
yeah, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. You know, anything else that might be if someone says, "Oh man, I saw a chief try to play football, man, and he couldn't or soccer, you know, and he couldn't play soccer." Okay, yeah, you probably right. Yeah, you know, heck, I always tell that story, man. When I sucked at basketball, man, it was horrible. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, but I don't care. I was good at the stuff that I needed to be good at. You know, I was good at fighting. I tell you that
Hmm.
much. I had no problem there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can't fly through the air and dunk and all that, whatever. But
Yeah.
I'll knock you the f out in the middle of this basketball court. Believe that. Say something
That was
else about how I play. You
that was
know,
2 points. What? 3 points. 3 points. My bad. My
yeah,
fault.
yeah. They used to say that. They say it to my cousin, like, yo, every time you bring your cousin around, man, you start wanting to spaz out on everybody. That's right. Hey, no, yeah, he can fight. You know, so yeah, man. You know, we only have to focus on what we're supposed to do, and that there's plenty of time to do what we're supposed to do. Plenty of time, you know, and we can organize ourselves around it because we're more in tune to the intervals of what we're supposed to do. You know, other
Yeah.
stuff we may not. Sometimes you work a job, you don't know what the heck that company doing. You don't. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a clue. You just like, they told me to stand here and collect tickets. It's like, but what is it like? Are they a part of the new like development project that's going on? Man, I don't know what that. Don't know.
You got a ticket. You
Right,
got a
exactly.
ticket.
You can't go past this velvet rope. That's all I know. Keep you back from the velvet rope. Like we don't be knowing what these companies are doing, so we don't know. That's why the workday be so tough. It's like, am I doing anything significant? I do not know.
Right. And if you
Y-
learn what they're doing, it's like they doing this wrong. Y'all
Right,
got me doing a wrong process. No wonder this is so hard.
right. Now I don't even want to do what I was doing because, and then that makes the time go slow. I had the time when you be working. What makes your day go past when you do a bunch of personal things on their time.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I was at the job, but I was on hold with the phone company and I got my phone bill reduced. I talked them down, told them I was going to turn my service off. They didn't turn my phone bill. Today was a good day. you know, Before I knew it was time to clock out. So it's the
Finish the
personal
report.
things.
Huh?
Right. The what? Man, I don't even know how to type. What report? Let me see. I'm looking in Word now. I don't see no template in Word for report. you know, like, I don't know what y'all hired me for. So that's the thing, man. You got to be able to find your intervals, and some of us are not doing enough of that. We just living in a very durational way, or we have a bunch of delusional fantasies we throw up in the air, and we just keep shouting about those delusional fantasies. But every single day, you should be able to. It's like climbing a rock face. You should be able to lock your foot in and say, "Okay, I hit another interval. I hit another interval. I hit another interval every single day."
You know
And
what?
that's how you count time.
I'm sorry. That I was thinking about that. When was that? Yesterday. the part in the movie when they were all climbing the rock face,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the youngest sons broke his arm.
Yeah,
But
Hellion, Reliant.
yeah, rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
He messed up his arm, and he had to like calm him down, like just focus, and like he had to bring him back to center, and then he was able to finish the climb.
Right.
But I bet you anything, because he messed up his arm, like he was more focused on everything that was around him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. You know, sometimes we're so afraid of using our emotions. You know, we're so afraid. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with fighters and they just wasn't focused, so I punched them in the face. You know what I mean? I was known for that. I say, yeah, you mad now. I see it. I see it. You mad now. You're trying to figure out if I did that to play you out in front of everybody, or if I really, really just hit you, or like what's going. Yeah, you mad, but you know what? You here now. You focus.
Mhm.
You,
If
you
he
know what
was
I mean?
focused, I wouldn't have hit you.
Oh, right.
You would have dodged.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like you present. I know you're present. You know what I mean? And sometimes we don't know how to utilize emotions in a way like that where we can give ourselves over to it, but still stay tethered to the target and use that emotion to pull us forward and to drive us to where we want to be. You know, it's like when someone wins a you know, hockey or NASCAR, they win the, you know, the hockey cup and they kiss the trophy. You know, what does affection and love have to do with what you just finished doing? Because that's what was in your heart the entire time. Man, I just can't wait till I'm standing up there and we're throwing champagne up in the air and you know, and I'm kissing that trophy. It's all love. And if I gotta be brutal on my way there, that's fine. I'm gonna use that emotion of love to get there.
Love hell, all right.
Right. Exactly. I'll go through hell to make love right. All right. I'm gonna mute out, man. I'm gonna close it. Thank you, brothers, for allowing me to come in and grace the stage. You know,
Yeah, man. Give thanks for gracing the stage. You know.
for sure, for sure, for sure. That's what El Corral would say. For sure. You know what it is, man. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm done.
Oh man, how we looking with sound? We about to close out.
We're feeling good.
Start crunching.
Like I said, we're gonna wind up doing a part 2 because we as much as we built on this, yeah, we'll just timing's going to flow, but it's going to flow for a purpose, and it's going to mean everything in the moment. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And give thanks. Willfully, we love our sound situation a little bit more situated. Next time we come, of course, the sisters are coming through next strong, and I know it's going to be amazing as well, just like it was last strong. Tomorrow we have our movie that we're watching. We also have Midday Affirmative, first date, right? I think Ima Yakira Eden is up. TQ Your Podcast on Tuesdays, and next Thursday is Aki El Karar, continuing with this series on cool science. But yeah, enjoy your Shabbat, and make sure, if you haven't yet, complete the process of signing up for the retreat. Some of you may have started it or checked it out. The retreat time is fast approaching, so make sure that you continue with your process and get your travel arrangements, and we'll see you there. But other than that, this has been a very enlightening build. Give thanks to you for coming through. Give thanks to Abu Harut, as always, partner in crime. And y'all enjoy your Shabbat. Peace to you all. Rest well.
Peace.